Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of WOSFL Weekly. I'm delighted this weekend to be joined by Johnston Burgh manager Murdie MacKinnon. Murdie, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having me, mate.
No problem. It's good to see you. And I was thinking we're going to have just a nice, quiet, easy roundup show for the weekend, but events transpire all over the place, don't they? Which make it interesting. But I'm looking forward to getting to know you a wee bit more. I've managed against you, came up against you, but I've never actually sat down and spoke to you. So I'm looking forward to finding out a wee bit more about you as a coach and all that kind of stuff as well. Just before we get stuck in, a wee reminder that we're streaming on YouTube just now. Will be available to rewatch on YouTube, and also available to download in audio form on all major podcast networks. If you want to interact with the show, we're always welcome. Any comments in the YouTube section, we'll try and get to as many as we can. We've had a few questions on X already, so that's good to see engagement. Brought to you by Pyramid Promotions. I hope you're enjoying the content that we're putting out recently since we rebranded and try to expand the content for Scottish football. I think it's an amazing level of content that we're bringing out. You saw the interview that Paul done with Colin Riley for Arthurley last week and stuff like that. So if you'd like to support us, we do have memberships available, which would go a big way to helping us make sure that we maintain a consistent level. Finally, just a big shout out to our sponsors, VSN Sport. If you're looking for some bespoke teamwear, speak to Gary at VSN. He'll get you sorted out with something unique to your club, and they'll do a great job. Okay, mate. Okay, so listen, I want to kick off with the South Challenge Cup. Murdie, you'll be pleased to know we'll go into the Premier League. I had that in the rundown anyway. I'm not changing the schedule for nobody, Murdie. Do you know what I mean? So it's my show, and I'll run it out.
You do you, man.
That's it, mate. That's it. So Auchinleck beating Hillabeath on penalties. Getting to a second cup final in the space of 2 weeks, bearing in mind that they also had an Auchinleck Cumnock derby, which I'm sure you've taken part in as a manager. For a team that most were saying isn't having the best of seasons, to be in 2 cup finals and beat your closest rivals in the space of a week is incredible, isn't it?
It's good form. Listen, they've come on to a run of form, started the season pretty poorly, and they've really come on, in terms of the league form recently. They've been getting results, and obviously you say, the derby down there, it's ferocious, so there's a lot of energy put out that to get to 2 cup finals in the space of that. Brilliant achievement doing that. Yeah.
What was your experience of the derby? How did you find it?
It was to be honest, it's probably something I'd never experienced before. Involved in a lot of big games, Johnny, as you have yourself, and coming out, but it was a different feel to that derby down there. Really different feel. I've done a lot of Paul Arthurley ones and different bits and pieces like that. But there was a different feel. There was real animosity. I would say that, and the games themselves were really, hotly contested. There was no quarter given in those games. So it was a good experience, to be honest with you. I'm pleased that I got to do it, but like I say, it was a tough old environment, put it like that.
Aye, that definitely is. It's great. I remember one of my earliest football memories was my dad taking me to a Talbot Cumnock game, and I think we arrived after about 7 or 8 minutes or something, like 10 minutes maybe max, and said to somebody, "What's the score?" I'm sure they said something like, "It's 1-0 to Talbot and there's 2 men sent off," or something like that. So
I would be surprised.
Aye. So it's good. It's ferocious, but a great week for them. So they go on to play East Kilbride in the final of that. How do you see that one going? It's a bit. Everybody kind of says it's a bit of a clash of styles. I heard on the radio yesterday, fans saying that East Kilbride probably have the benefit on it on the big park on the Astro, but you can't write Talbot off, can you?
No, definitely no. Listen, the guys down there have got the experience of having been there and done it, in numerous occasions. And they kind of breed that mentality and the players and their teams. So they've had those evolution of teams, over the last few years, and they all seem to be successful and seem to be getting there to those finals. East Kilbride, listen, top side. we've watched them a number of occasions on the telly, different things like that. I know Michael there really well, and know how he likes to play. And I would say, I would probably agree. It's a clash of different styles. And that's not to say that Auckland don't play football though, because they've got good players there, really athletic, and they'll get forward, and I'm sure they'll cause them problems. But thinking about East Kilbride, I think it'll be a tough game for them. It's certainly good for the neutral, definitely.
Right. And as an ex Cumnock manager, you've kind of got to see you fancy East Kilbride, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Well, but best wishes to Auckland in both our cup finals. It's a really good opportunity, and in the West again against Largs. But I'm going to stick my neck out as saying I hope Largs win the West and Talbot win the South Challenge for Arnie to win the West, and then Auckland can win their cup beating East Kilbride. That keeps the West of Scotland Football League happy. Sorry, Michael.
Aye, we're promoting the league and stuff like that. Michael's been in the league as well. He knows how competitive it is, and he knows what a good league it is. A lot of good teams in there. So, listen, your prediction there could very easily come true.
Yep. Okay, moving on. We'll move on to the Premier League. I'll just put the scores down there in the bottom of the ticker for you to have a look at. Save me running through them each individually. There's only one place to start, really, Murdie, isn't there? So I'll just let me set the scene, okay, early just now, because in the last hour or so, I don't know if you've seen it, but Darvel have put out another statement, Murdie, saying that there's going to be an investigation by the league. As an update to yesterday's club statement, they've been made aware by Stephen Harris from the Scottish FA Referees Department of an incident where it's alleged that Johnston Burgh used 6 substitutions during the match. The West of Scotland Football League Board will await the match referee's report and launch an investigation. Both clubs will be invited to provide written statements to give their views of the incident. This investigation will be undertaken by Discipline Secretary Peter Ferguson. Give us your thoughts in, Murdie.
I've got nothing to say on it, Johnny. I'm only kidding.
Listen, see with that statement, because they've now announced that there's going to be an investigation happening, and the club's going to have to give written statements. You'd probably be within your rights to say nothing, but I know you're not going to do that because
no. Listen, first and foremost, obviously it was a really competitive game yesterday, and both teams want to win it and want to get there. Fundamentally, at the outset, I'm going to say there's an error on our part, and I need to take responsibility for that within our dugout. I've got myself and there's another 3 staff there, and we missed and we lost focus on the fact that we had an early substitution for an injury. First for my career, I have to say. So I'm still trying to get my head around it, but it's that's the fact. That's the fact. We made an error. We went to make a couple of substitutes later on in the game, having already made 3 substitutes. So we made the one earlier in the game for the injury, then we made a triple substitution, and then we went to make a double substitution at that time, bringing on 2 forward players to try and go and positively, influence the game in our favour and get a result in the game. We were obviously unaware at that point as a group, as were the Darvel dugout and as were the officials at that point. That's what we were doing. Was putting on an extra substitute. I have to say, at no time, I've read some stuff, and that what it's like, Johnny. Grows arms and legs. I've read some stuff. At no time was there any numerical advantage, for us. However, that doesn't mean to say I'm saying it was right. I'm not saying that, but there wasn't there seems to be a confusion. There wasn't any numerical advantage. We just made an extra sub, so somebody had been brought off. Now, obviously, when the players enter the field of play, I thought Naim Marriott, to be totally honest with you, because obviously the assistant referee and the referee have allowed the substitutes to take place. I would assume, and I don't want to throw the guys under the bus here because they've made an error as much as I have. So again, I'm saying that I've made an error as well, that they've allowed them onto the park. So I thought no more of it until there was a whisper and a suggestion that was an extra sub, having been made. The linesman, at that point, assistant referee, obviously realised the error, highlighted it to the referee, who came over and made me take the sub back off and bring the player back on that I had substituted. And that time there was a penalty kick awarded. Stuart McKinnon had won a penalty kick for us. So I get, Michael being upset yesterday. I understand it. For our part, and my part, I can only apologise for that. Because it's an error that, like I say, Johnny, it's not a common error. It's not an error that's doing there, and it's certainly not an error that we've made to try and gain any advantage or something like that in the game. You're just trying to change the game and trying to make a change around, let the game pass you by, type of thing. So we then get into the realms of a wee delay to we get that sorted out, and the referee gets the game back going. I think the guys were upset that the penalty kick stood, and then obviously we went on to win the game. Score another goal after that. Time was added on and stuff like that for it. So I need to be honest and very clear, Johnny, that the mistake lies in my dugout. My dugout is such, it lies with me, but I can't speak for the officials letting them onto the field of play. I would expect to go up there with two substitutes and get knocked back, for one of them, to be honest with you, about it. But it's now in the hands of the officials, now in the hands of the league, as you've stated. I think that was read out from an internal communication sent by the West of Scotland league. So it's now in their hands. It's now in the hands, and we'll let them decide what the laws of the game are and figure it out, and we'll find out what comes for there.
Mm-hmm. No, and listen, I'm sure, I hope everybody that's watching now, we've got quite a lot of people watching on YouTube, and we've got a few kind of comments coming in as well. And I hope everybody listening and watching appreciates you being as candid and holding your hands up to the error, because I think that's important. Because again, we've all seen some stuff on social media and things like that, and I believe, I know you don't want to do it, but I can do it. In my opinion, yes, you guys are at fault, and you've admitted that, but the bigger portion of the fault lies with the officials, in my opinion. And I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, because I know you're a manager and you could get yourself in bother. But in my opinion, the fault lies with the officials. The IFAB rules are quite clear that if an extra substitution is made, when the referee discovers that, he then reverses the substitution and then reports it to the authorities, which looks like that's what's happened, and that looks like the way it's going. I did have a look around. I done a wee bit of digging today in between being at the farm park with my wee man today, so I did a bit of digging. I managed to find a couple of examples, not from recently. Probably the most recent one was kind of 2021, where this has happened down in England in an FA Cup tie, and they replayed the game and stuff like that. But I think it'll be interesting just to see where it goes. And like you said, I completely get where Michael's coming from with his anger towards the officials and what went on. I completely sympathise with him. I'm sure I would have been exactly the same. I'm sure you would have been the same, Murdie, if the shoe was on the other foot.
Listen, I'm no dying. Obviously, there's been an error there, and that's upset. They think that's influenced the game. I would say that the substitutes were on the pitch 40 seconds. Because I've actually looked, 40 seconds in total.
But also as well, like, influencing the game, it's quite a subjective thing to say. Like, how do you measure somebody influencing the game? Is it scoring a goal? Is it setting up a goal? Is it winning a penalty? But what if it was a right back that you brought on that doesn't do anything, that plays one square pass into the central midfielder? Is he influencing the game? So that for me, that's a grey area that I don't think you can take into account.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's irrelevant who the player is also.
Oh, that's got nothing to do with it.
And I think I think there's been a feature made of that, and I think that's completely irrelevant, because I was told to take a player off So it's nothing to do with the players, in themselves, So yeah, influence. I don't know. Stuart McCann win the penalty for a clear handball. So yeah. Listen, Johnny, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. It's an error, and it's an error I'll not make my career again. And the staff round about me, they feel bad as well. And listen, it is what it is. We're a team, though. We're a team, but ultimately, I take responsibility. It's down to me.
Yeah, and I think one thing I would say as well is when they brought in you can make 5 subs, 3 with 3 stoppages.
Yeah.
But half times doesn't count as a stoppage, and do you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. I mean, I remember being on the sidelines with George Wallace at Luger loads of times and saying how many subs have we made, how many stoppages have we had. There is a bit of mental gymnastics sometimes, and you do rely on the referees. Sometimes I've seen me asking the referee, like, what have we had 3 stoppages? Have we done this? Have we done that?
To be honest with you, we've normally got that covered. There's normally never.
And we don't have linesmen doing the 3rd division, Murdie, like you guys.
True. That's true. It's very true. There's never been an issue before. It's like the reality is, there's been an oversight for this early substitution for the injury. That's it. And everybody's mind, including the Darvel dugout, I would have to say, is focused on the game. And we're all engrossed in the game and trying to get something out of the game, hang on to the game, or get a goal, whatever it is. We're all into that. So when the subs are made, nobody bats an eyelid, not one person. And 40 seconds later there's mayhem. But listen, like I say, Johnny, it is what it is. We need to move on, and we'll just wait on the results of what the league and what the people come back with.
Aye, and I think that's fair. I think I'll just round up by giving my opinion, Murdie. I'll not ask you to comment on this, okay? But I'll just give you what my opinion is. In my opinion, I think that you guys have made an error, which you've admitted. Darvel are raging. The referee is at fault. I think some nonsense that I've seen about, like, you intentionally try to get an extra man on the park is absolute nonsense. I think that I've been involved in football for many, many years. Never at the side of the park, ever, has anybody suggested let's try and sneak another sub on. It's not something that you do. Like, anybody, I don't think anybody has ever said let's try and sneak another sub on to try and get advantage. Yes, we all try and bend the rules and try and get away with as much as we can over the referees, but that's something that I've never came across. So for me, the fault lies with the officials. We'll see what the West of Scotland League do. I think, in my opinion, I think they'll possibly ask you to replay the game personally. But that's just my opinion. And again, Murdie, I'm not going to ask you to comment on that. But I really appreciate your candidness and your openness about it, and holding your hands up. And hopefully it kind of puts a few of the nonsense talk to bed. But on the football side, it was a good win for you. And I saw Aaron Mason's goal, setting goals, a lovely strike for the edge of the box. How has the season been for you so far? Like, Clydebank have obviously just set a ridiculous standard that's been difficult to keep pace with. But for you guys, how are you viewing it?
Don't have to say, Clydebank have been excellent. So, first and foremost, I want to say that they've been really, really good. But that Clydebank team have been built over the course of 5-6 years. And they've done a really good job. They're a great club, great fan base, great people behind the scenes, and they've strengthened. And we've asked questions of them this year. We've asked real questions of them, Johnny, because up until last Saturday we were undefeated in the league for September. And a few draws, a few tough games, stuff. Auchinleck, we've played them twice, played Trudenwhite twice, beat them twice. So we've got a lot of games under our belt, and I know Clydebank have still got some games to play against Auchinleck and Troon and different bits and pieces like that. But we've asked questions of them and they've answered them, to be fair. So at some point, you need to sit back and you need to go, well, fair play to you. They're still football to be played, of course, but as I would say, at the moment, they're still us.
Aye, I mean, I think for you guys, like, you're obviously winning promotion last season. Yeah. What was the kind of aim at the start of the season? Was it to challenge, or was it to be up there? Like, what was the expectations of the club?
Aye, Johnny, I've always got those expectations and stuff with myself and the team. We obviously, it's a new team. I think there's 2 players, maybe 3 players playing on the regular that were there last year. New goalkeeper, new back 4, new midfielder, new front 3. you know, so that takes a wee bit of time as well. So the boys have done really, really well. And the expectation for us was to go and challenge, to go and get up there and do it as well as we can, get into the latter stages of cups and do that. And listen, we've done that. We've been highly competitive this year. You know, we're up there. We're in the top three. We've been in the top three for the majority of the season. We're a good side. I've got a lot of young players there. Probably some of the best young players in the league. That itself can bring a wee bit of inconsistency, but you know, I think the lads have showed up really, really well. It's the club's first time back in the Premier League in over 20 years as well. So you know, we remember that. And listen, we've made real progress in the course of the year that I've been there. So I'm really, really pleased with the group of players we've got. Pleased with our application. Pleased with how we've been progressing. We've had some fantastic wins this year, and you know, we've got big games ahead. You know, we'll get a double head semi-final with the Scottish Junior Cup, you know, to play, and we've seen the crowd that we were at last year, so you know, we're buzzing. We're really looking forward to it.
Good, and obviously the it's well documented the financial backing that you guys have got up there, which again, this is one of my biggest bugbears with this level of football is the kind of negativity towards teams that happens to, because I don't like if teams are willing to have money and spend it and bring better players into the league and make the whole place better, then I'm all for it, you know. And I think it's probably just a wee bit of jealousy, do you know what I mean? But how do you deal with that? Because probably I would imagine, and going back to yesterday, it seems like there was just an automatic pile-on because it was you. It was because it was Johnston Burgh, and you've got Kyle Lafferty and Graham Dorrans up until recently and all this kind of thing. So how do you manage that? Because that must bring a bit of pressure itself.
You just kind of block that out. Listen, Johnny, in my time in this league, I've seen this with a number of clubs. I've seen it with Park. I've seen it with Irvine Meadow. I've seen it with Darvel. I've seen it, you know, now ourselves where there's investment. The reality is we're not only making investment in the playing squad and the team, and we're making investment in the community. We're making investment in infrastructure and the facilities. You know, the plans that the club have got in place is not just to benefit 11 players on the pitch. It's not about just winning the West of Scotland. It's about benefiting the whole community and doing something positive. You know, in Johnstone, where they've been out of that top league and they've been in the doldrums of kind of junior football for the last 20 years. And you know, obviously there's been work taking place to actually bring the club back up to where it is. You know, it was what put in the club to bring it to the point where I took over it, and then obviously for me bringing it forward. So people put a lot of work to get the club back with there. And you know, there's a real positivity for Johnson, but people can't help themselves. You know, it's one of them. You mentioned the word jealousy. At times it can be people. It can be riddled with it. You know.
And also, there's got the constant rumour mill that goes on and about it, about this player and that player, and this manager's getting your job and all that kind of stuff. You know, like we all hear it within football, and it must be quite. I don't know. Like I know that from my point of view, if I was hearing that, I'm probably quite an insecure person when it comes to football. People that are watching this that know me are probably laughing, but how do you deal with that? Like hearing those kind of rumours, like such and such is coming for your job and all that kind of thing.
Well, rumours. You know, there's rumour and there's fact. Do you know, there's fact. You know, they'll have people contacted the club and contacted people at the club. You know, that's fact. I've seen it. You know, and showed it. And to be honest with you, there's a desperation about that, Johnny, isn't there? You know, there's an absolute desperation about it. It lacks integrity for me, professionalism, and it's just things that wouldn't have happened. I think, you know, previously, and you think about why would a club, if you're in charge of a club, would you take somebody on that's doing that? You know, it's a lack of trust there, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? And but for me, I'm just going to remain focused. I just try to remain focused on my club and on my team, Johnny. And you hear all the rumour mills, hear that. I try to just black it out and concentrate on the club, concentrate on the team, concentrate on the players that are brought in, because they're the important ones, mate. And I let other people ruin their reputations and do whatever they're doing, and you know, be on the rumour mill and do that sort of stuff. You know, it's the bottom line is, you know, it's one of these. I've not got an ego about me. You know, there's a job there to be applied for. And if you wanted it, you apply for it. I applied for it and I got the job. That's it. You know, people will say, I'm not applying for a job, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Well, that's your prerogative, you know. It really is. But it's like you want a job and you like it and you fancy it, go for it. And if you don't, you know. But, you know, doing the other stuff, it's like I despair at times when I hear some of the stuff, Johnny, you know what I mean? As for the players, there's always going to be rumour with the investment, mate. There's always going to be rumour there about this player coming, that player coming. And we want to attract the best players. That's part of it as well. So when I say we invest in the community and this and that, the community want to see something. They want to see a winning team in the park. So for sure, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't have great support. The guys behind the scenes at our club are brilliant people, really good people, committee people who have been there for a long time, great people, and I would love it really to be successful for them.
Yeah, and obviously the club now announcing that you'd signed on for next season as well, so that puts everything to bed now, doesn't it? So happy days, you can start thinking about building for next season. I think that was, from my point of view, outside looking in, I think that was important for the club to put out that and make sure that was known, because then it allows you to identify targets for next year. And like you're saying with Clydebank, they've built that over a few years, and if I truly believe that continuity is really, really important in football. So that's hopefully what they're going to get by keeping you on next season, which is great.
I hope so. Listen, I never really had any doubts. There's no anything that I had concerns about and stuff like that. And I'm too busy concentrating on the football, to be honest with you, Johnny, and try to get things going and things moving and prepare ourselves for big games. But the club are quite keen to have me there, which is great. It's brilliant, and obviously recognise that I've done a good job there, and I'm building something successful, and I like where it's going and the progress that's been made. So I'm delighted over it, man. Great club.
Great. We had a question on X, which is good, which I'll just put to you now. It wasn't about yesterday actually, which was great. So that's why I'm going to highlight it for Jordan. Was asking, how do you see the team progress in the next 3, 4, 5 years? What's the club's aspirations on and off the park? Have you spoken with the club about, is the plan at Lowland League and see where you can go, or is it just kind of build a team now and then we'll see where it takes us?
No, there is a plan there. Obviously, we're trying to put the infrastructure in place and stuff, and the club's obviously released plans about what they're going to do at the ground and stuff, and they look amazing. And they're obviously where the club's situated near the airport and stuff like that. We're waiting on kind of planning being granted for things and bits and pieces like that. So I leave that to the people off the pitch. My focus is on it, but having that infrastructure, or SFA license, then going and looking to progress up the leagues and looking to do that, and that's my part on the pitch. Doing that and try to hit the ceiling. Where do we go? Lowland League, League 2, I don't know, League 1, don't know. I don't know where it is, where the ceiling is, but we'll try and reach there. We'll try and go. There's real ambition at the club, but people behind the scenes at the club, the owners at the club, are really ambitious, really supportive, realistic, about where we are and what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And they have a plan. And they want a youth pathway. They want different things like that involved in it. So it's not just about the West of Scotland League, win the cup, and then do it again the next year and just spend a fortune doing that on repeat. It's like there's a whole load of things we want. We want a pathway. We want to be able to promote our own players and have our own players locally coming into the team and run about. We've seen other clubs doing that. So we want to do that, and we want to fulfil those ambitions as quickly as we can, obviously. But it will take time. That's for sure.
I know it's great. I mean, like I said, I'm all for investment coming into the league. It's a shame when it doesn't work, when it falls away. Hopefully that's not going to be the case with you guys. Hopefully there's increases in the pyramid system and allows more teams to kind of expand their ambitions if they've got them. But that's probably a conversation we can have another day. But no, I mean, looking at the league, we've spoke a wee bit about you guys up the top, but down the bottom, great win for Darren Henderson at Hurlford on Saturday, beating Poll at 4-0. I saw the first goal, the strike for Lewis Morrison, absolute peach if you get the chance to see it. But that's a massive win for them in their quest to stay in the league, isn't it?
Aye, that's a huge one, against Pollock, who again they're wanting to pick up points and get themselves up that league as well, So my own experience of that fixture with Pollock and doing it Hurlford is always a tough place to go. Dan's always got his teams well organised and stuff like that, and it's a big win. 4-0 is a big win. It's convincing, and Dan's got quality there. Lewis Morrison, really good player. I think he scored a couple of goals yesterday, if I'm led to believe. So, from what I've seen, big massive one.
Aye, and I think I mentioned this last week, but I think they've got 8 games left. I think 5 are at home, So that'll be a real benefit for them in trying to stay up. And similarly, another team that's try to stay up and try and stay in the league's Benburb. Difficult for them. They're on a real bad run at the minute. It just seems to have came at the worst possible time, doesn't it?
Aye. We've started to play Benburb twice. We've not played them this year. And Davy and Robbie there have taken over, but I think they took over and I think they picked up results. They picked up form and they were doing really well for a period. But they're obviously in the end of a convincing defeat here yesterday against a really good Troon side. I have to say though, a really good Troon side this year. We've played them twice, and they've got some top players and they play some great football. Troon, so they're a top side.
Aye, it's got really tight at the bottom. I mean, even with Darvel not picking up any points yesterday, they're still only 4 points away from Benburb. They've got 2 games in hand, so it's going to go right down to the wire, isn't it, down there? Aye,
you're looking at like Benburb shots, Gartcairn, Darvel all down there, all fighting for their lives, and their games are no they're no easy for opposition. In those games, it's like people are fighting for their lives, trying to get points, Johnny, and they're trying to get themselves out of that position. As Darvel were yesterday. Gartcairn, 24 games I think they've played, and it's tight. It's really tight. It's really tight down there. So every point matters.
I know, and interesting. Gartcairn losing their manager as well. There's been nothing really on the front there, but it was. I do have sympathy for Mick in terms of the coming in with expectations of being at the top end, which they probably would be kind of middle to top before the points deduction, and then getting hit with the 15 points and then the wheels have just come off. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like they've just, as I said, they've just lost control of the whole situation, isn't it? And it's a bit of a shame to see a young manager at a job, really influenced by stuff that probably wasn't his fault, I would say.
I think there's been a lot of pressure put on them. I don't know. I don't actually know the fine details of what happened. I know there was a 15-point, I think, deduction for an administrative error of some sort. But listen, Gartcairn are a good team. They've got good players as well. We played them recently and it was a tough game. A lot of experience within that dressing room, and obviously Mick either losing his job or moving on for his own circumstances. It's a shame to see, because he's Mick's a decent guy. I got on well with him, and obviously been in the game a long time as well.
Aye, definitely. Okay, move on to the first division now. I suppose the standout result for me, Murdie, would be Renfrew beating Coinning quite comprehensively 3-1 at home. It's a really good result for Jimmy and the boys at Renfrew. They just seem, every time you think that they're having a wee dip, they just come out with these fantastic results. But it's a great result for them, isn't it? Yesterday?
Aye. One of your boys out there, the boy Kenzie McChrystal, he's out there. I think he scored yesterday, Kenzie. So for Renfrew, so no, Jimmy's and his Renfrew team have came really strong. Beating I have to say, a really good Coinning side. What a job Kevin Kelly's done there at Coinning. He's done brilliantly down there. They've picked up a lot of results in a lot of big games. So that was a huge win for Renfrew yesterday, and it puts Jimmy right in touching distance to Coinning. So that'll be an exciting run.
And you would think that Kevin's probably just looking at it, think they've been on such a good run. You'd be looking just make sure that's a kind of outlier, and they get back focused on their next tie to kind of consolidate their place at the top of the division. And it doesn't, what it's like. Sometimes you're on such a high and then you hit such a low when you do lose one. He'll be working hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
I know Kevin the way I do. I know Kevin really well. I was really pally with Kevin's dad, Paul, and Kevin will get his boys. Kevin will bounce back. He'll have them bouncing back for that result. Like I say, Kevin's a really positive boy, full of enthusiasm, for the game, for the job. That comes across in his team, for what I can see in terms of the results and how they've responded to as well. So I'm sure they'll get together and they'll bounce back next week.
What about what's happening at Arthurlie, Murdie? You had much, I know you're again ex-Pollock man, just talking about the rivals tonight. Kevin Rutkovich getting in there as manager, but I watched Colin's interview during the week with Paul on the WOSFL build-up. It just seemed like a bit of a mess at Arthurlie, to be honest. And
like I say, I think Colin had built a good team there, and I think by all accounts what they were doing in terms of the league, in terms of their form was good. I think they went into kind of mid to latter stages of some of the cups and fell behind in league games. Maybe some games been off, but I think they had, games in hand there that could have went and really pegged people back. So, Big Kevin's went in there. Kevin's an experienced manager as well. So, in terms of change, I'm sure he'll give them a bit of stability and stuff like that. But behind the scenes, the kind of other stuff behind the scenes, I'm not sure what's going on there, Johnny. But it's Arthur a big club, big club, and I know their supporters and stuff are wanting them to be successful and try and get promoted this year. I know that. So, a good appointment in Kevin, and obviously for Colin, sorry to see him go. For don't like to see any manager lose their job.
Absolutely. You just hope that Kevin's been given the reassurances by the club and the right things. He's been told the right things. If obviously what Colin's saying, that's not going to continue and things like that, because you're right, they have got a squad capable of getting promoted. I would say they were definitely favourites before this whole thing erupted. They'll probably still get the best squad in the league, I would say, maybe, but you just hope that Kevin's going in there and he's getting assurances for the club that everything's going to be settled, because you just don't need that kind of turmoil, do you, when you're a new manager getting in?
No, it's difficult. You need to get your dressing room together and get the boys together, and if there's difficulties within the dressing room due to non-football and things or whatever it is, then that's a problem, because sometimes that's out with the control of the manager, things that are happening there. So it's a difficult situation. But listen, again, Kevin's an experienced manager. He's been in the game a long time. He knows the game, and I'm sure he'll do well. I wish him well.
And I think that one thing that I took away from Colin's interview was that they had a really good dressing room, a really strong dressing room with good personalities in it, and that's been reflected yesterday to go to Kilbirnie and get a 1-0 win. I think Gary Carroll was taking the team before stepping down. I suppose that's a testament to the dressing room, isn't it? That they can go through all that turmoil during the week and still turn up at Kilbirnie, who have been going well, not an easy place to go, and still get a 1-0 victory.
Kilbirnie's a tough place to go, and obviously Gary's got a response at them and got a bounce at them to finish off. I read that that was going to be his last game yesterday, but he took that with Colin's permission, took the game, and get to give the players some stability. In Colin's interview, I felt a lot, a kind of passion and closeness, in regard to his players, in regard to the dressing room, cared quite a bit about them. So that's testament to him as well. He didn't want them left out in the limbo. He wanted them a wee bit of stability and somebody to look after them and get into that game. And obviously Gary's went down there and done well to get that result. It gives them a foundation for Kevin to come in and kick on.
Yep, and we wish Colin well wherever he pops up. Now, I got the impression listening to his interview with Paul that I don't think he'll be at the game long. I think he's definitely one of these football guys that's got the bug, and he'll be back in soon.
Listen, Colin, I think he came for the Villa Clyde out of Atherley, and I think he's done a brilliant job. I think he's done a really good job at Atherley there, and I think he did a good job at Villa Clyde. And there's another good pal of mine at Villa Clyde now, John Hughes, and they got a good result yesterday, against Thornleywood. Thornleywood have been flying, in the Villa Clyde beating them 2-1. It's a great result as well.
Have you seen my rundown? Because that was the next game I was going to talk about. No, you're fine. Listen, you can have a wee shot hosting the show if you want, Murdie. It's no bother. I know, a great win. I spoke to John last night. I was kind of texting him back and forth, and he was saying that they were good value for the win as well, and it was really pleasing. Like he said, Thornleywood have been going really well under Adam Coatley, and Villa Clyde, they've played more games than the teams run about them, so every point is really important for them to make sure that they can stay in the league.
You struggle to find a more passionate guy than John about football and about his team. Credit to him for that. He wants them to do so well, and he works so hard at it. And obviously, I seen that result yesterday, and Adams had Thornleywood flying. I watched them a few weeks back against the Meadow at Hamilton, and they were a really good side. They could have been 2 or 3 up against the Meadow before the Meadow scored. And they've obviously got to the last stages a couple of cups as well, Thornleywood, so Adam's done well with him as well, so big result for John, in Villa Clyde.
Yep, and it's going to be really tight again at the bottom. I mean, you've been in that league, it's tight at the top, it's tight at the bottom. Everybody's, I mean, if you look at Irvine Meadow sitting in 24, Kilbirnie are sitting only in 28. I mean, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about Kilbirnie possibly sneaking into the promotion hunt, and now we're looking, they're only 4 points above relegation. Granted, they've got a few games in hand, they've only played 20, but it just shows you how incredibly tight that league is.
Aye, I think that league's it's really unforgiving. You lose a couple of games, you can fall down it really, really quickly. It seems to be a league, and it's been quite a historic thing with that league, where there's very few positions within it where it's just safe. You're either in the hunt for promotion, or you're down there and you're in the depths and you're fighting for your life. Because looking at that league, it's really, really tight down there. So as obviously Ashfield and Blantyre kind of rooted down at the bottom there in single digits and look as if they're going to struggle to stay there. But obviously with the Medan, Mabel and like Rob Roy down there. I know it's another game yesterday. It was on finishing a draw. Again, I watched the opposite fixture a couple of weeks back at Meadow Park, and again that was one that Rob Roy sneaked, but really, really tight there. You can see how competitive that is, Johnny.
I listened to John Gibson on the Rob Roy manager on the radio yesterday, and he was saying that they've managed to get a couple of new players in and stuff like that. And at this time of the season, that can make a big difference, can't it? Just that wee freshness, that wee injection into the dressing room, into the squad.
Aye, no, definitely. You can just get new blood into the dressing room and just give everything a wee spark, and it kicks on. And I watched Rob Roy down there, obviously, and I thought they were really, really good. I thought they were worthy of their win. Some good players there, really athletic. They got about the pitch well, and they were a threat. Aye. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the second division. I think, well, first of all, you look at that. I mean, that scoreline's incredible. Cali Locos 6, Bonnet 5. I mean, I always say it. I say it every week about the fact that you get your money's worth in the west of Scotland. There's no better demonstration than that. I mean, where do you get value for money like that on a Saturday?
Some gamer 6-5, so it's defenders on top. I'm sure Big Danny Boyle is in charge at Cali Locos. I'm sure he'll be happy for their centre half like yourselves. I'm sure he'll be happy with that, But 6-5, seems like some game, some game.
I know.
Loads of goals, but for a neutral again, like you say, value. Paying in to watch that game, you were entertained, weren't you?
Absolutely, it's amazing. It's great to watch. But looking at the top, I mean, interestingly, yesterday the top three all drop points. I suppose the biggest shock would be Maryhill getting turned over 4-1 from Whitlets. That's a bit of a shocker, given how well Whitlets have been doing recently.
Aye, absolutely. Whitlets at the top of the league. Obviously, I've seen that Mark celebrated 100 games in charge of Maryhill, so that was a fine way for them to celebrate that occasion. A 4-1 victory against the team at the top of the league. So, a great result.
I actually bumped into a Whitlets player the day that down at the farm park. Man, he was just saying that they just really struggled to get to grips with them. But you look at Matt Young at Maryhill. Again, we spoke about it. They went on a horrendous run just before Christmas, but since Christmas they've picked up. They're going so well, and pleased to see. It's great to see manager getting to that 100-game point, because that's what, maybe 3, maybe 4 seasons. And like I say, continuity is really important, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from here and kick on.
Aye.
Yep.
For sure.
And Neilston drawn with 4th. I would have fancied Neilston to take care of business at home to 4th, but drawn 3 each again. 4th, a team. I think a team that you can never really take lightly, because, as I've said many times, the scoring goals isn't a problem for them, but it's kind of keeping them out at the other end. But you would still have expected at home Neilston to win that one, probably. I
would probably see that as an opportunity drop for them, particularly with Whitlets getting beat with Maryhill. That would have been an opportunity for them to get themselves up there and go top of the league, I believe, if they'd have won that game. So probably a missed opportunity, and they'll be disappointed in that. Big Andy will be kicking themselves, but listen, they're in a good position. They're up there, and their form looks good. I think they've drawn the last couple of games, but I'm sure that will be they'll continue to fight to try and get themselves promoted.
I think I've said before, I think the top 3 just now are the 3 that will go up, and all that are within touching distance now. They have played more games, but they've got the points on the board, which is important. Looking down the bottom, big win for Martin Montgomery at St Anthony's to lift them out the relegation zone, probably for the first time in a wee while. New manager, young manager going in. It's good to see them having a positive effect in the league, isn't it?
Absolutely. New appointment, something different for St Anthony's. They're always a club that think outside the box anyway. experience, and I think they've taken the manager for the Bember under-21s, and obviously a smart move there where finances are no brilliant there, but they can attract good young players who are going to come and compete and do well for them within the leagues, and it's great for those young players as well to get opportunity and experience to play in a regular. So great result.
To go to Yoka, which again isn't an easy place to go, and win 3-0 is a great result for them. So well done to them. And then overtaking Les Mahigo. I have spoken about Les Mahigo a few times on the podcast, on the show. Again, they've just been an absolute free fall at the minute, and that's them now. They've been flirting with the relegation zone for the last couple of weeks, but they're now find themselves in it. How do you think, as a manager, when you're in a bad run? I don't know, you're maybe that good a manager, Murdie, you've never had a bad run, but if you're on a bad run, how do you go about trying to turn things around?
I think importantly, Johnny, I think it's about getting a result. It's about stopping the tide. I'm looking at Les Mahigo's form there. It's no great. It's like the last 6 games. There's 5 defeats there and a draw yesterday. It's about turning the tide, and maybe that draw, maybe just getting that point stops that wave of defeats and gives them something to then build on and kick forward with a bit of positivity, to move forward with. But for me, like you say, I've definitely had a couple of bad runs in my time. I can assure you that. And it's always been about that. It's always been about getting back to basics, getting well organised, getting tight, compact, no conceding goals easily, shutting the back door, and going and getting that result that can kind of turn that for you.
Aye, and we don't know how that game went. I mean, whether they were comfortable pushing or they were holding on. I mean, but both ways can have a positive effect. You've just got to try and take that positive out of it. You've got to try and find that positive, haven't you, out of any result that you can get.
100%. Even if you're right up against it, they've got a point there yesterday, and if it's back to the one, it's the Alamo, and they're getting, they're having to defend for their lives. You take the positives of that, as you say, that really solidifies the group that they're able to come through that together, and they can use that as fuel to kick on. So, listen, positive result yesterday. To a certain extent, gives them something to build upon to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll move on to the 3rd division. Just give my pal Dean a wee shout out, winning 2-1 at Glasgow Persia. That was a big win for them. Dino's not been wanting to talk about being down the bottom end of the table, which I completely understand, but it's really important that they get that victory now. Moves on 4 ahead of Glasgow United, who beat them a couple of weeks ago. So it was a really important win for Dean again. Another young new manager, so we want to see them succeed. Not that we want to see old managers lose, but we want to see the young blood coming in and doing well, don't we?
100%. Listen, again, Dean's a great lad, brilliant guy, and a brilliant player. But first and foremost, Dean was a brilliant player. A lot of my teams at Pollock and stuff like that, competing, Dean was playing with Troon and outstanding, I thought, at what he did, and the coaching at Troon and stuff like that. But now out on his own in terms of managing at Girvan and doing well. Listen, Persia's not an easy place to go. It's not. Baillie will have them, well organised, and the one thing I can guarantee about a Persia team is that they'll all fight for each other and they'll all work for each other. So that's a great result for Dino. That's a great result for Girvan. Yeah, brilliant.
And Ardea, Sean Kenny, who's I've heard a few kind of whispers of him being linked with the Beath job. I don't know whether that's anything to read into it, but another great result for them. They're like Whitlets and Cowinan, similarly in the other leagues. They're absolutely flying at the minute. Looking to solid. I don't think they're going to catch Thorn, but promotion now looks a real distinct possibility for Ardea.
Mm-hmm. Thorn, the local club to us as well. They're flying high, but I don't think that's a new thing for Sean. I think Sean's been doing a brilliant job there for a number of years now. He's been there, I don't know, 2-3 years now. It might be a bit more. And I think he's done really, really well with them. He's turned them into a really, really competitive club, really, really competitive team. Every time you see them in terms of the league position and what they're doing, it seems to be positive. It seems to be up there. So I think he's done a brilliant job. He's done a really, really good job, and it wouldn't be surprising me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he was linked other jobs there as well. But he seems happy there. He seems happy at Ardee. He's been there for a bit, and he's really built something positive there. So, no, brilliant. Good on him.
Just a wee word on Kilsyth Athletic. You maybe seen during the week about Baillie Hanlon stepping away for personal reasons, looking after his own coaching business. Again, young manager. What was he, 22, I think, when he first took over the job, and it's an incredible what he's managed to do there, and he's leaving them in a really, really good place, isn't he?
He's been excellent. I remember seeing that a wee while back with Kilsyth Athletic coming in and giving a young coach like that an opportunity. Really enthusiastic coach. When I heard him speaking at the time, he was really enthusiastic about the game and his ideas and what he wanted to do, and brilliant. And a lot of resemblance to Josh Gardner at WOSFL as well. Really clear ideas about how they want to play and what they want to do with the game, and it was quite exciting for them. And I thought to myself, good on you. Kilsyth Athletic, give him the opportunity to go and do that, because sometimes he's too young. Well, listen, give him an opportunity. He certainly proved them right by giving them the opportunity, because he's done a really, really good job for what I can see there. They're sitting in up at that top half of the league. I think they're fourth, aren't they? Position. So done a good job, and wish him well whatever he moves on to.
You just hope. I suppose from my point of view, the only thing you hope is that he's not lost to it. Do you know what I mean? I know he's got outside interests that he's looking to focus on and stuff, but you don't want to see somebody like that lost to the game. You hope that he'll pop up somewhere else, and hopefully someone else, maybe someone even higher up the divisions or whatever, gives him an opportunity, because he's shown that he's more than capable.
I hope so. I hope he's not lost. I hope we do see him back. He's obviously leaving to go and take care of his own coaching business and a few other things that he wants to do. And he's certainly, he's still young enough to come back, and the experience he's had at Kilsyth will stand him in good stead. That's for sure. But he's obviously a good young coach. He's obviously had the response for his club and the players that are there as well, which is important. So he's obviously been able to command the dressing room and do that, and I'm sure we'll see him back at some point.
A great result for them yesterday, again beating Greenock 3-1. Greenock just after being on a really good run, just a wee stumble. That's them now, no wins and 4, 3 draws and a loss, which then opens the door a wee bit for Kilsyth. But again, Greenock, I think with their squad, they'd probably be looking as, I would say, promotion as a kind of minimum, probably, where I'll be looking for them. So they'll be looking to arrest that wee kind of blip that they've had.
Yeah, no, definitely. And having that wee blip probably at a bad time as well, because obviously Ardee, as we spoke about earlier, in front of them, their form's excellent at the moment. They're putting wins on the table and kind of pulling away a wee bit. So good win for Kilsyth yesterday over Greenock, but I'm sure Greenock will bounce back. I'm sure they've got that kind of experience down there as well. Like James Marks and stuff like that down there in that dressing room. So again, boys that have been there a wee bit and I've got the experience to pull them through and start to get results again. I'm sure that will happen.
Yep, and down the bottom, another really good win for Irvine Vicks. Again, Ben Carson going in there after his time at Irvine Meadow. I've watched a few of his interviews. I think he clearly identified that they needed to do a lot of work on improving the kind of fitness and the energy in the squad. That's him now 2 wins on the bounce. I probably thought they were gone. I think they've now moved themselves within 3 points of the relegation zone. But again, they have played more games than everybody else. But they're making a fight to it. And again, it's good to see a new manager going in there and giving them that wee bounce.
Aye. I was a wee bit surprised, to be honest with you, leaving Med and going right into Irvine Vicks, because obviously with that rivalry I've experienced. That's another one that I've experienced that was pretty mad as well. So I was a bit surprised with that. But listen, from a form perspective, he's went in. Obviously, I think he's won 3 of the last 4 games, and he's certainly giving themselves an opportunity anyway. That's for sure.
I think, well, as far as I'm aware, if I remember rightly, I might be wrong, but Ben played with Irvine Vicks before he played with Irvine Meadow. So I remember, I'm actually hoping to have him on the show next week, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. But I remember, I will probably talk about it, but I remember a game we played Troon v Irvine Vicks, and the two of us just spent about 5 minutes calling each other fat during the game, you know. So he was calling me a fat bee and I was calling him a fat bee and stuff like that. And it was good rivalry, but I think he had a good career at Irvine Vicks before he went down there.
He was a decent player, Johnny. He was a decent player.
He was a good player.
I think he was a really good player, I think.
Yeah, no, he was. Okay, we'll move on to the fourth division. Kello at the top end. They're no losing, but they're no winning either, you know. And again, that's them now 6 unbeaten, 4 draws on the bounce. Does that, see if you're trying to get promotion? Do you think you worry about that, or do you think you just accept the point and move on?
Sometimes draws can be worse than defeats. You know, having 3-4 draws and over a defeat. You know, it's like people think you get beat and stuff like that, but those draws, you're dropping 2 points at a time, and it's those rack up. You know, we've seen that in our experience that this season as well at Johnston Burgh. You know, we've had a few draws, and that's kind of put us behind. You know, so we're totally not been defeated for September, but the draws have certainly cost us, and that's the same kind of circumstance there. Too many draws, very easy to fall behind when you start drawing games like that. You need to find a way to turn them into wins. You know, but obviously Knightswood drawing against Knightswood, they're flying at the top of the league.
That's what I was just about to say. I mean, a 1-1 draw away to Knightswood on paper is a good result. Is one you would probably take, but it's the other ones, isn't it? Is the ones that maybe against teams that maybe you're expected to beat. You know,
small club Knightswood. So I played there when I was younger. I know Michael Pender, the manager there, really, really well. Done a brilliant job there, and get in there, and their expectation, was to do well and try and get promoted, and they're flying higher. It's great to see. There's a lot of good people behind the scenes there, as well. And they've won a lot of games. I know the Porter on their tail and Richie Peachy there, so it's a tight league. But I hope they get out of the line. I hope they do.
It's a tight league. Another great result for the neutral. Port drawn 4 each with Easterhouse. Again, another money's worth game. Easterhouse have really dropped away a wee bit from where they were. They were looking in a really, really strong position, but now, again, that's 5 without a win. But you're talking about Kello, 4 without a win, but they've picked up 4 points. Easterhouse 5 without a win, but they've only picked up 2 points, and it's hurting their promotion spot. This wee run here, they're just dropping a bit too many points and opening the door for those below them. Like Kello, like Rossvale, they're just leaving that door open for them, aren't they?
For sure, and it's a really bad time, John, as you'll know yourself, to go in a bad run of form. It's a really bad time, and you open the door for other people to go, and you've seen it so many times. Teams flying for the majority of the season, they go on a wee bad run, they get their blip, and they can't recover from it, and before you know it, they just miss it. So, but it's important to again, turn those draws into wins and try to get results on the board and get back on to a steady stream of getting victories.
A couple of teams that are on a good run and hot on the heels of Easterhouse and Kello at the top, Rossvale and Eglinton. Rossvale, really good win away to West Park. They're on a really good run. I think that's 3 on the bounce now for Josh and the guys up at Rossvale. So they'll be. I know Josh's ambitions is to be in the promotion hunt or get promoted at the end of the season, but going to West Park is difficult place to go, and it's really important for them to get the win, put the pressure on.
No, definitely. No, Josh, another one we spoke about. Good young coach, good ideas. He wants to play the game and wants to get there, and he's doing himself no harm whatsoever. 3 victories in the last 3 games. And obviously the West Park game, again, as you say, will be an easy thing. I think that's a local derby as well.
The Bishop Briggs Classico.
Aye, Bishop Briggs Classico, aye. So, tough game there for him, and obviously looking through that and got the victory. So, doing well, and he could really, in terms of position, go and sneak in there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, Murdie. Listen, we've got a couple of things in the chat. I'll just run this by you. I don't know if you saw anything about this reconstruction stuff about the Lowland League West, East, and North.
I've heard about it. I don't know the actual details yet, but I've heard that there was some rumours about it yesterday and what was happening, and leagues getting amalgamated and different things like that. So,
any thoughts? No,
as I say, John, I don't really know the details yet, mate. Really, to comment on it. somebody was mentioning yesterday the top 10 league, 10 teams in the league or something get promoted, or amalgamating with teams in the Lowland League, and so I really need to look at the details to see what my thoughts were on it. Listen, any sort of amalgamation like that, with teams that you look up there in the Lowland League, East Kilbride, Lithgow Rose, Bowness, and a variety of other clubs who are doing well, Carly Braves, and I think amalgamation with some of the clubs in our league, licensed clubs and stuff like that, it would be a really, really strong league again, wouldn't it? So, but I'm sure I'll be made aware of what those proposals are, and we'll have a look.
I think for me, looking at it, and I watched the journalist, sorry, I can't remember his name, interview with Paul on the show on the channel. I think my initial thought is, if you're looking at regionalising things, which I don't think is a bad idea, but I'm sure you guys at Johnston Burgh would much rather go to, say, Linlithgow on a Wednesday night than go to Gallifreydine or Dalbeattie Star on a Wednesday night. Yeah. So I get when I think they were talking about Brecon, because Brecon play in the Highland League, but then they would now be in the kind of Lowland League East, if that makes sense. But I don't think it's as beneficial to the West teams to amalgamate them with the South in terms of travelling.
No, it's like, because you bring a lot of teams in there, and you need to, I think there needs to be a realism about that in terms of travelling and stuff like that. I know they do it in the seniors, like, I get that, but they need to look at the distances that they're sending people, particularly midweeks and things like that. It's I think there needs to be a lot of care taken over that before they do that, because there's obviously a lot of clubs there as well who might not be financially in a position to put on buses and do different things like that in terms of the transport of that and getting people to those games. But at the same extent, I think the product we have at the moment is a really, really good product. The rationale for change, I'm not quite sure about. But the thing about the amalgamation, putting us, that would invariably put us a tier up, and closer to the kind of the SPFL, if you like. So there's a positive part there, but like I say, I think there's a lot of details to be worked out and a lot of clarity to be given before people can really make informed decisions about whether we want to do that or not.
Yep, completely agree. Okay, Murdie, listen, thanks very much for your time this evening. Thanks for coming on, being as candid and open as you were. Just again, to put the record straight, this was arranged a couple of weeks ago. This wasn't a response to anything that's happened over the last week or so, and it would have been easy for you to take the easy way out and say I can't do it. So I really, really appreciate you honouring it and coming on and giving us your thoughts on the weekend's game. So thanks very much, Murdie.
Well, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having us. Thanks for asking us. As I say, it's something I was looking forward to catching up with you and talking about the league. It's a great league and stuff like that. And so, no, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. So, if you wouldn't mind, if you could like the channel and subscribe to the channel, like the video. Make sure you never miss an episode of all the shows that we have on the Pyramid Promotions YouTube channel. This will be available on audio form, hopefully by the end of tonight. You can follow me at WOSFL Weekly or at JBaillie22 on X. 140 goals over the course of the weekend in 38 league games, which works out at 3.6 goals per game. As we keep saying it day in and day out on here, that you get true value for money in the West of Scotland Football League. So find where your local team is, dig out a tenner and go and support them, because I'm sure they'll appreciate it. From everybody at the channel, from myself, Johnny Baillie, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Cheers.